guys, what's going on? In this video, we're going to be talking about building a niche out, okay, and deciding on your niche. Now, the first thing, this first slide that I have here, I wanted to explain to you guys that there is no perfect niche, okay? This process is many times overthought. It's many times people think that they make mistakes along the way as far as like choosing their niche, but the truth is you're never married to it either. So if you go down the road of deciding on a niche and 3 months down the road you go, this is just not the area that I want to be in, you can always shift, okay? Now, it is still important to do your research on the niche and understand, like, is there business there? Is there currently people that have money in the marketplace in that type of business to actually buy my services, right? Because if not, then you shouldn't go down that road in the first place, right? But ultimately, it is important to understand that there is no perfect niche, okay? There's going to be, every single industry that you go into, it doesn't matter. There are people that need your services, okay? But I'm going to show you guys some easy ways that you can validate a niche in the process so you don't just kind of beat your head against the wall during that. So the first thing is ask yourself a couple of questions. What industries do you have experience in? Okay, so many times, like when I first started getting into marketing, I started going through the Rolodex in my head of what business owners do I already know, who within my friends and family circle own businesses, what types of businesses do they own, are they paying for marketing, right? So like ultimately you can do a lot of your own research inside of your circle. And if you don't have a big circle, that's okay, because there's other ways to validate this. But ultimately that's the very first thing that I sat down and thought about was, who am I currently doing business with? Also, what types of businesses would you enjoy working in? So point number 2 here. And then what is the competition like? Okay. Competition is always a good thing, you guys. That is where you can pull a lot of inspiration from. If you go on and you're researching an industry and then you go look for other companies that are marketing in that space, many a times they've already done the work for you. I mean, legitimately, you can go through and make some really solid decisions based on how other marketing agencies are already marketing that product. And there's many great companies out there that have already kind of laid the foundation for what you need to do as well to have a successful business, right? So one of the things I want to point out is Angie's List. Okay, this is a great place to go look for different industries, right? So for instance, you could click on any of these. We could click on view all categories, for instance, and boom, you've got a lot of different business types right away that you could do marketing for, okay? Now, one of the big things that I want you to take into consideration when considering a niche is, do those types of businesses already pay for marketing services, okay? The reason why I like Angie's List is many times the reason why Angie's List has these listings is because companies are going to them and buying leads from them, okay? One of the great things that you can do as a marketing agency is you can approach these business owners who are on Angie's List or typically would go to Angie's List to buy leads and say, why don't you build out a system for yourself that can generate those leads internally so you're not paying above and beyond what you need to be paying for leads. And that's been our big pitch as an agency to these business owners is, why pay the amount of money that you're going to pay to someone like Angie's List when you could basically have your own business set up with Facebook ads and be doing, lead gen for your own company and, just pay us a small fee to manage it for you. And that's essentially kind of what the whole pitch is, because a lot of times these companies are just overpaying for leads, and these leads are typically shared with other companies. So it's not like a huge win-win for the client. And that's ultimately what we want to help them with. So going through here, you can start to kind of take a look at some of these different businesses like carpet installation, right? And another thing that I want you guys to think about is, what is the value of a client to that particular business, right? And the one thing I want to show you guys is a couple different ways that you can use things like ChatGPT to actually go about this. So let's take plumbing, for instance, because that's always kind of an example that's used. Now, one thing that I did is I come over to ChatGPT and I ask, how many plumbers are there in the US, right? So first of all, there's 480,000 plumbers currently in the United States. And the other question I ask it is, how many new plumbers are there every single year? And the answer after a couple questions was basically close to 3,000 new plumbers starting businesses every single year. And this is why marketing agencies and building a marketing business is an evergreen business, right? Now, marketing is always going to change and evolve, like with AI and all the other things coming out. You've got to learn to like adjust with that as you go along, but ultimately we can still use these tools to really help us understand a marketplace before we go into it. And even the marketing approach, we can utilize stuff like ChatGPT to actually help us build out our marketing plan and how we go about approaching these companies. All right, so, but that alone, you guys, if there's 3,000 new plumbers a year and there's over 480,000 plumbers in the United States, do you think that you could get 10 of them to pay you $1,000 a month for a service? And if you really think about that logically, you guys, that's how quickly you can get to a six-figure income in a marketing agency. You only need 10 clients that are paying you $1,000 a month. And so there's a couple different ways and fast routes to do that. You could have a client on two different services that are $500 a piece. You could have a client on one service that's $1,000 a piece. You could have a client that's paying you $2,000 a month for a service. So depending on how fast or how you want to adjust to things to get there, that's how you're going to do it. But ultimately, that's kind of what you want to do, is take a look at, what industries do you have experience in? Where would you enjoy working in? Because again, this is something that you are going to be living in essentially for the next however long that you run your marketing agency. All right. But again, you're not necessarily stuck. I want you guys to remember that when I first started my marketing agency, I based the whole thing around financial advisors. It was a great niche for me. We made a lot of money, but ultimately I shifted about a year into that and wanted to go into a different market, just because the other piece to this is sales cycle. Okay. So one of the things that I just want to touch on briefly is, what is the client's sales cycle? Okay. Now, what I mean by that is, take a financial advisor, for instance. A lot of times when we were running ads on Facebook for that particular business, ultimately, when they would get a lead, a lot of times it was taking them 3, 4, 5 months to close a new client on a financial advisory plan where they were managing their assets under management. Okay. This is a big lifetime decision where people are handing over their retirement to somebody to manage their money for them. Okay. That sales cycle was very long, you guys. So for us to look good as an agency, we not only had to pump leads into that company, but they had to be good at closing, and they had to understand the long game of closing a client. Whereas, for instance, if somebody has a leaky roof and they need their roof fixed and they're going to Google or they see an ad on Facebook for a roof repair, how quickly does that client need to make a decision? Right? That is a short sales cycle. And that's what we're talking about here. So ultimately, what becomes important is working in something that you might enjoy or at least interests you, so you're not completely bored with it a year from now. Is there enough of them out there? Are there others that are basically marketing into that niche? So again, if I come over to Google and put in marketing agency for plumbers, plumber marketing services, right? Now here's the great thing is, I can go into these companies, you guys, and just take a look at what are they doing. Ultimately, as a brand, They've got free strategy call, the services that they offer, advertising, traffic, website builds, and just taking a look at like, what does their setup look like? What are they offering? This goes down the rabbit hole of when we're going to start really talking about building offers and how you're going to break into a marketplace, because again, the work's already been done for you. There's already very successful companies, and you could probably take this brand and go plug it into Facebook ad library and see what kind of ads they're running to get new clients and what kind of offers that they're doing. You could even book a strategy call and act as a client. And again, I'm not going to say that that's best practices, because I wouldn't want a bunch of people doing that to me. However, that is a good way to learn if you're trying to learn an industry. And that's what I had to do with financial advisors initially. Luckily, I had a financial advisor at the time and was able to book a couple of meetings with him and talk through some different strategies that I was working on and understand their business model very well and what they looked for and expected. So again, when deciding on a niche, you guys, it's not detrimental if you go with the wrong niche. But what I do want to say is, when you just make a decision, and again, you don't want to overthink it. You don't want to like spend weeks at a time doing this. However, when you do make a decision, you do want to go dig into that marketplace, right? Go look up different groups on Facebook. Go look at different marketing agencies and check out their websites and how they're set up, and look at their offers, because again, you're going to be able to take this information and either hand it off to a web dev team or your team of VAs and say, this is what we're looking to do. I want it to be like this company, but I want to brand it myself. And that's how you're going to start to build your agency, right? And again, who do you do business with? So this is another big one. You have a dentist, right? You've got different businesses that you do business with. Is it an auto body shop? Is it a chiropractor? Like, think of the different types of businesses that you do business with. And ultimately, when I was brand new in the marketing agency world, while I was niched down, I also wasn't turning away business when it came to me. So this is another understanding, you guys, that a lot of people get wrong. Just because you're niched down doesn't mean if an e-com brand comes to you and says, hey, I'm looking for somebody to do my SEO and it's a friend of yours. Yeah, we do that. Yes, absolutely, 100%. And then go find someone to do it. Go find the right white label company, right? And that's an important lesson in understanding that you guys really want to know, right? Is niching down doesn't mean that you're going to ultimately turn away business if it shows up at your front door, right? That would just be stupid to turn away business. Become a yes person. When you have the right white labeling team, like we're going to teach you guys in this course, and you're going to have connections to get anything done that you need done. When you have the ability to be confident behind saying, yes, we do that. What you're going to find is you're going to find business at the gym. You're going to find business when you're out to dinner. You're going to find business literally everywhere if you're willing to just talk to people about what you do and who your company is. I promise you, more than 50% of my business still comes from just word of mouth and me having conversations with individuals, right? The advertising and all that stuff is great, but we're going to teach you guys how to build your social media properly, how to have, those conversations, but more importantly, just be confident in saying yes, that you can get the service done. So I want you guys to really sit down and think about this, go through the process of looking at maybe your top 3 businesses that you'd want to work in. Go find out how many of those businesses are around. Go do a little research on how many marketing agencies that you can find that are doing, marketing services. So here's another one. Thrive Plumber Digital Marketing Agency. Get my free proposal. Here's a video. They've got Google review stuff. And just take a look at like what other companies are doing, because this is ultimately going to give you your outline for what you need on your website to actually be a successful agency. Phone number, right? A nice menu, showing all your services. Now again, you don't have to offer all these services, you guys. I offer 2 to 3 services in my business, and that's pretty much it. And we've built a multiple 6-figure agency with those few services. So just know that you also don't need to overcomplicate things, right? Now, why should you niche down? Okay. There's a lot of debate between niching down and not niching down. Okay. And I think that it really depends on what you want to do as an agency and how spread out you want to be. Okay. When you do niche down, it gives you the ability to systematize your entire processes front to back and build SOPs for your VAs, for your internal team, based on what needs to be done per service. And if you're working in multiple business platforms, platforms isn't the right word for that, but multiple different types of businesses, right? Ultimately, it does kind of spread you out, and it does make it a lot harder on your team to know what needs to take place from day one all the way through to the completion of that service, right? If you're operating in plumbing and your team knows, okay, we just got a new Facebook client, here's the SOP for setting that client up, for we need to build out these creatives, we need the ad copy, we need this, we need that, and it goes to launch, right? So ultimately, having the same system for every single service for the specific type of business that you're in, that alone is going to make your life a million times easier than if you're offering services to all different types of businesses, okay? It gives you the ability to focus and continuously obtain great results. So here's the other thing that happens to us when we really niche down is our ads got more effective, right? We were seen as a higher authority, right? Actually, if you haven't read this book, I'm going to highly recommend it to you guys. $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. You guys know who Alex Hormozi is from social media, but that book really explains when you niche down, you become an expert in an industry, right? So the reason why a lot of times you close the deals versus a generic agency, or why somebody trusts you a little bit more, is as you get experience in this niche, right? As you choose your niche and actually get your first client, second client, maybe you get some client case studies, a review, some testimonials. All of a sudden, if a plumber goes to your agency site and they see a couple of videos of different plumbers who've had success with you, instant credibility, okay? And that is so important, you guys, when building a business online in a world where you're not face-to-face. There's not a lot of trust factor in that, right? You've got to build trust. So how do you build trust in a digital business? Well, a lot of times you do it through video, because testimonials can be faked. A lot of things can be faked. Case studies can be faked, but when you have a client that's having success and you can hop on video with them really quick on Zoom and say, you know, where were you at before us? How's it been working with us? You know, where are we headed? And if somebody was sitting on the fence, what would you do, or what would you tell them about working with us, right? And every time you're basically collecting those videos, that all ties in with your branding, your niching down, and all that happens, you've got to kind of scrape by to get to that point of where you have a couple of real client successes, and then it skyrockets. It gets so much easier from that point, just simply because you become the expert in your industry. And that's when your ads get more effective. Everything gets way more effective at that point. So that's why in this course, you guys, we're going to teach you, you know, the first couple of clients, even if you break even on them, even if you make no money, it's okay, because as long as you get them results and you get a case study out of them, everything gets more effective from that point forward. So branding, branding, branding. I'm going to say it time and time again. You are building a brand, and you are your brand. Okay? This is another thing that people get wrong. It's not about your colors. Nobody gives a shit about your logo. Nobody cares about your brand colors. You guys, I promise you, it doesn't matter. yes, you want your website looking professional. Nobody cares about the colors. Nobody cares about your name. Nobody cares about your logo. And I've worked with hundreds of agencies at this point. I promise you, don't overthink those things, okay? Quickness in getting launched is important, right? Choosing your niche, but doing your research, choosing your niche, and then moving forward and just starting to get these things done, because I promise you, it's never going to be a final result, right? I rebuilt my website for my agency 3 different times because as we made more money, there's certain things I wanted to do better. So I improved it once I had the funds to do it. And then we made more money, improved on it. Like, it's going to be constantly going. So just know that it's never going to be perfect. You don't need it to be perfect, right? Just you need it to be moving. And that's going to be a huge, huge key here. So let's talk about with home services, right? Here's a couple of niches, and again, just going through Angie's list and started kind of pulling from some great niches that I think are still great niches to be in. Whether you want to build a service-based marketing agency where you are offering, Facebook ads, SEO, all that stuff, or even if you just want to build a SaaS business, like you can do that in any of these verticals. Okay, so kitchen remodeling, big money, right? In kitchen remodeling. So it's a large profit item for the client. I know for a fact they're running ads for it. When somebody's ready to remodel their kitchen, they typically are making a decision somewhat quickly. So again, always following that process of, is there enough money for the client to run ads and land a client, and it makes sense to them on an ROI perspective? Because again, you can't be the only one making money in this situation. The client also has to be pulling an ROI, or they're not going to stick around. AC repair, big money. Plumbing, big money. Landscaping, same thing. Roofing, electricians, pest control, locksmiths, painting, flooring installation, damage restoration, and garage door installation and repair. All of these verticals I've had success in, whether it be Facebook ads or SEO. So again, back in the day, like I mostly was just a local service business agency before I went and niched down. So just know that I've been on both sides of this. I've had a generic agency where we were doing everything for everyone. And this is why I know that when you niche down, things get a lot easier across the board. So, but these are all great industries. For legal, you've got bankruptcy, personal injury, divorce, criminal, traffic. These are all, with legal, you guys, it's super competitive. So I'll be honest, like that, legal's a competitive industry, but it is still a good industry, right? So, but just know that there's going to be certain services that work better for these particular verticals. A lot of times, if you don't know SEO, then I would always kind of lean more towards advertising, right? So SEO, it can be a great market, but you've really got to understand how to sell it. And ultimately, one of the fastest things for any of these industries for you to be successful is going to probably be advertising services, as well as if you were building out a SaaS product for one of these industries, right? So with Go High Level, you have the ability to basically resell the platform. You could brand it into any of these verticals and be hey, we're the landscaping CRM company that helps landscape companies basically have a full-blown CRM with funnels and websites, and you start plugging in things like UpHex and these other apps that we're going to be talking about with you guys, where these clients can run their own ads with a couple of clicks of a button. And now, that's where you can make $297 a month off of a client, but it's kind of like forever, because they get hooked on the CRM and they use it forever. And then you can also sprinkle in other services into that. Or if you just want to do service-based, and you don't even want to go the SaaS route, kind of like, my main business is service-based, even still today. So I know that a lot of people have a ton of success with SaaS. It's not something that I personally do a whole lot in. I'm still mostly in services, but SaaS is a huge, huge market as well, and we're going to be talking a lot about it. So with healthcare, you've got dental, you got chiropractors, cosmetic surgery, weight loss centers, eye doctors, day spas, veterinarians, fitness. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, you guys, that you can just go through here and take a look at. And again, just think logically as you're looking at them about the amount of money that they make, you know. Another thing too, just to consider as we go through some of this stuff, is when it comes to sales calls and when we get into that side of things in the course, is just understanding that some of these people are going to you're going to need to contact them via phone. Like, you really can't do Zoom calls with them because a lot of them are out in the field. So whereas some of like legal and like healthcare, some of these places, they're going to be desk people, right? So that's something too, just to take into consideration. And then for automotive, you've got auto repair shops and auto body shops. I wouldn't really recommend car dealers personally. With a lot of the students that I've worked with, that has not been a great industry, at least to break into. So that's why if you are going to go the auto route, I think that these types of areas are probably the better route to go. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I want you guys to do some research on some different niches that you really see yourself working in. Like, just take a little time to actually look at the different pieces. I do want to show you, there is a company called Tree Service Digital that I want you to just take a look at this website as a whole, you guys. This is one of the better examples that I have found, that you could fit any of these niches that we just discussed into this website template, and it would work. So I want you to understand just a couple of things that are happening here, right? Your website should be clean, right? It should not have a lot of busyness. You do not need a lot of stuff going on. Simple opt-in form, right, that you can use for appointments, a welcome video that explains who you are, what you do, and how it benefits the end user. I really hope that most of you aren't afraid to be on camera, because those that are willing to be on camera have a lot of success in the industry, simply because people work with who they like and trust, right? And this adds a lot of trust into a website. Whereas otherwise, if you landed on this website and there wasn't a human on here, it's just text, right? So there's not a lot of that human warmth that takes place with that. He's got a clickable phone number. And we're going to actually go through in detail in building out a website, like all the important points here. But I just wanted to show this to you guys, to show you an example site of the services that can be offered, how simple it can be to put this together. You know, testimonials, and you'll actually see how he's collecting these testimonials, and then, you know, different videos. And it's all this guy, I know for a fact this guy does six figures, probably multiple six figures a year in a tree service business, right? Which is the reason why I like using this as an example, is it's not really a business industry that I would have thought of that would be like, oh yeah, I could make multiple six figures in that industry, right? But he is the tree service guy. Like, he is known as the tree service marketing guy. If you go to Google and you look up tree service marketing, Tree Service Digital, right? His ad pops up right away. And there's a tree care SEO, landscape leads, but ultimately tree care marketing solutions, Tree Service Digital, right? So he's number 3 essentially with SEO for his company, okay? So I know for a fact he's getting a lot of traffic for that. In fact, there's 140 companies a month that search for that specific key term. But he's branded, you guys. He knows his systems. He knows what he offers. His team probably knows exactly how to fulfill every single client, whether it's Google ads, Facebook ads, SEO. He's got systems in place, right? All of his content, all of his YouTube content is all about tree service marketing. He's building a true brand, okay? And a brand like this at some point could be sold or transferred because it's branded, right? The only thing that would change is whoever he would to sell this company to eventually would probably update some of the marketing. But I know for a fact that he's had this business for at least 3 years, maybe 4, because I've followed this site and nothing's changed on it in that amount of time. And so you know that for years this business has had success. They're still running ads. That's a great sign, right? Because that just means that there's customers to be had in this industry. And that goes for all of these industries that we just discussed in this video. So find an industry that you want to build a brand in, find a niche, do a little research, write down those top 3. You can even send them to us if you guys want feedback on it, but ultimately trust your gut. Trust your gut for the direction that it's telling you that you want to live and operate in for the next while. And let's start building the brand. All right. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.